So let's start by talking about approach. You know, I was reminded about the importance of approach many, many years ago when my wife and I first moved in with each other. You see, we fought a lot over little things. Things mostly that happened in our bathrooms. We called these our bathroom brawls. Is the toilet seat up? Is the toilet seat down? By far the biggest fight my wife and I ever had was over toothpaste. You see, my wife's a roller and I'm a squeezer. And all of you out there who are rollers, I appreciate the fine artwork you create out of your toothpaste. But you know that the most awful thing that can happen to you is to have a squeezer come by and ruin all that effort you've put in. But to me, getting toothpaste out of a toothpaste tube is an act of aggression. I feel powerful in the morning and the evening. And we would fight incessantly over little things like this. And finally, my wife, who is much smarter than I, said, time out. What are we doing here? We've just been married, we love each other, and yet we're fighting all the time. We need to look at this differently. And as soon as we started looking at our bathroom brawls as opportunities to learn about each other, to make concessions, to collaborate, things changed. And I'm happy to say, after 15 years of marriage, we no longer fight over toothpaste. This same approach is true in communication. Most of us, when we are in situations where we need to communicate, we see them as threatening. We see them as opportunities for failure. And I'd like to suggest that we need to change that. We need to approach communication in an open way. See it as an opportunity to share our ideas, our beliefs, our innovations. And when we take a perspective of openness, all of a sudden something that we dread becomes something that we embrace. So the first step to effective communication is to approach it in an open way. But that's not enough. We need to think about the audience that we're speaking to. And to me, the way to approach it is the opposite the way most people do. Most of us think about, here's what I want to say, or here's what I need to say. I would suggest that's exactly wrong. You need to think about, what does my audience need to hear? And it sounds just like verbal jujitsu, where I'm moving words around, but in fact, it's a fundamental difference. If I ask myself, what does my audience need? It puts me in service of my audience. It's about their needs. And in order to understand those needs, I have to do some reconnaissance. I have to ask myself who they are. The three things I think we need to ask about our audience are, what is their knowledge? What is it that they know? And if they don't know enough, what can we do to scaffold that information so that they have the tools they need? In addition to knowledge, we need to be thinking about their expectations. And by expectations, I mean, what is it that they expect of me? Most audiences have heard the types of presentations you're giving. Maybe it's a pitch, maybe it's some kind of advertisement or marketing, maybe it's a TED Talk. Your audience has heard those kind of presentations before. So what do they expect of you? And then you can choose to conform to those expectations or not. You know, I have 2 young kids, and I learned that sometimes violating their expectations actually isn't the most effective thing I can do for the communication we need. My boys sometimes make me upset. And when they make me upset, I used to raise my voice to no avail. Nothing happened. I was ignored. And that's tough for a communication guy. So what I started to do when I'm really upset with my boys, I lower my voice. And they stop dead in their tracks. Violating expectations sometimes can actually help you as a communicator. The final thing we need to think about are, what are their attitudes? The way you approach your communication is influenced by what your audience thinks about what you're talking on. Are they in favor of it? Are they against it? Are they hesitant, agnostic? Those are the things you need to be asking yourself when you communicate. So we need to appreciate our audience. When my older child was in kindergarten, I volunteered. I came into his classroom. The teacher had to leave to take a call or something, and I was in charge of an art project. Oh, was that a mistake? The kids were running around. I was saying, oh, stop this, Johnny, Sally, stop doing that. Nobody listened. The Yoda-like teacher returned, saw the chaos that had ensued in her brief absence, and simply looked at the children and started rewarding the positive behavior. Janet, she said, what a lovely way you've cleaned up your crayons. Samuel, thank you so much for walking with the scissors. The